What if I told you the deepest place on Earth is not empty? Nearly 11 kilometers below the surface of the Pacific Ocean, in darkness so complete that sunlight has never reached it, China discovered something scientists never expected to find. Not just a few strange creatures drifting through the black water, but entire ecosystems, forests of animals swaying in the dark, rivers of life crawling across the seafloor, thousands of species nobody had ever seen before, surviving under pressures so extreme that a steel car would be crushed flat long before it reached the bottom. And what China found down there may have changed the search for alien life forever. Because if life can survive there, maybe it can survive almost anywhere. Let's get into it. The place we're talking about is the Mariana Trench, a giant scar in the floor of the western Pacific Ocean, stretching nearly 2,500 kilometers across. At its deepest point, a location called Challenger Deep, the ocean floor sits 10,984 meters below the surface, almost 11 kilometers down. If numbers like that don't mean much to you yet, here's the comparison that makes it real. Take Mount Everest, the tallest mountain on Earth, and drop it into the trench. The summit would still be more than a mile underwater. That's how deep this place is. And for most of human history, it may as well have been another planet. The pressure at the bottom is over 1,000 times greater than what you're experiencing right now. Roughly 8 tons, crushing every square inch of anything that goes down there unprotected. Human beings cannot survive it. Most submarines cannot survive it. Even many robotic machines fail before they get close. For decades, the Mariana Trench existed almost like a myth. Everyone knew it was there, but almost nobody had actually seen it. In 1960, 2 men reached the bottom inside a tiny steel sphere suspended beneath a floating tank of gasoline. They spent just 20 minutes there before returning to the surface with almost no photographs, almost no samples, and more questions than answers. Then in 2012, filmmaker James Cameron descended alone in a modern submersible equipped with cameras and scientific instruments. What he described sounded eerily lifeless: a flat gray landscape, cold mud, darkness, silence. The deepest place on Earth appeared almost empty. But China wasn't convinced. Back in the early 2000s, while much of the world focused on outer space, China quietly made a decision to explore the exact opposite direction, down, into the deepest parts of Earth's oceans. The goal wasn't just to touch the bottom and come back up. China wanted to build an entire deep-sea exploration program capable of carrying out real scientific research in one of the harshest environments on the planet. That challenge was enormous. At those depths, pressure can crush steel, electronics freeze, communication disappears, and if something goes wrong, rescue is impossible. Chinese engineers spent years designing submersibles capable of surviving conditions that would destroy almost anything humans had ever built. First came Jiaolong, meaning sea dragon, which reached more than 7,000 meters deep in 2012. Then came improved systems, better materials, more advanced navigation, stronger robotic arms, and finally, China built Fendouzhe, the Striver, a titanium deep-sea submersible specifically designed to reach the absolute bottom of Challenger Deep and stay there long enough to perform serious science. In November 2020, it descended into the trench. 3 people sat inside a titanium sphere barely larger than a small bathroom as the vehicle slowly sank through the Pacific Ocean for nearly 4 hours, Imagine that. No sunlight, no radio signal, no rescue possible. Just millions of tons of water pressing down around you while the world above disappears kilometer by kilometer into darkness. And then suddenly, the seafloor appeared in the lights. What the crew saw stunned them. The bottom of the Mariana Trench wasn't empty. It was alive. Dense fields of giant tube worms stretched upward from the mud like underwater forests. White clam beds covered huge sections of the seafloor. Thick bacterial mats spread across the bottom like snow. Shrimp-like creatures darted through the darkness. Strange, translucent fish moved through clouds of sediment. Life was everywhere. And scientists quickly realized they were looking at something extraordinary. Researchers cataloged more than 7,000 previously undocumented species from the expedition data. Not just unusual versions of known animals, entirely new forms of life, creatures that had evolved for millions of years in total darkness at the deepest point on Earth without humans ever knowing they existed. But the biggest mystery wasn't what these creatures looked like. It was how they survived at all. Because sunlight never reaches the Mariana Trench. There are no plants, no algae, no photosynthesis. The entire food system that supports most life on Earth simply does not exist there. So where was the energy coming from? The answer was hidden beneath the seafloor itself. Deep cracks in the Earth's crust leak methane and chemicals upward into the trench. Specialized bacteria evolved to feed on those chemicals through a process called chemosynthesis. Instead of using sunlight as fuel, these organisms use chemistry. And around those bacteria, entire ecosystems formed. Tube worms, clams, crustaceans, fish. Entire food chains powered not by the sun, but by chemical energy rising from deep inside the Earth. Scientists already knew small chemosynthetic ecosystems existed elsewhere in the deep ocean, but nothing like this, not this deep, not this extensive, not this biologically rich. China had just discovered one of the most extreme ecosystems ever found on Earth. And almost immediately, scientists realized the implications reached far beyond the Pacific Ocean, because for decades, the search for alien life focused mostly on planets similar to Earth, places close enough to stars for sunlight and liquid water to exist on the surface. The Mariana Trench changed that idea completely. Life doesn't need sunlight. It just needs water, chemistry, and time. That realization transformed the scientific conversation around places like Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. Europa is covered in ice, but beneath that ice, scientists believe there is a massive liquid ocean warmed by gravitational forces deep inside the moon. And if chemical vents exist on Europa's ocean floor, similar to the methane seeps inside the Mariana Trench, then ecosystems like the ones China discovered could already exist there right now. The same possibility exists on Saturn's moon Enceladus, where giant plumes of water vapor erupt from beneath its frozen surface. Suddenly, some of the most promising places to search for alien life weren't warm planets near stars. They were dark oceans hidden beneath ice. And one of the biggest reasons scientists now take that possibility seriously is because of what was found at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. But the expedition also uncovered something deeply unsettling: microplastics. Tiny fragments from bottles, packaging, and synthetic waste had drifted nearly 11 kilometers downward and settled into the deepest parts of the ocean. Creatures living in one of the most remote places on Earth had already consumed them. Think about how incredible and disturbing that is at the same time. More people have walked on the moon than visited the bottom of the Mariana Trench. And yet even there, humanity had already left its mark. The same expedition that revealed one of the greatest discoveries in marine biology also exposed one of the clearest signs that nowhere on Earth remains untouched anymore. China's deep-sea exploration program is still continuing today. The Striver continues to dive. New expeditions are already being planned. Thousands of biological samples are still being analyzed in laboratories, and scientists believe entirely new species will continue emerging from the data for years to come. What began as a deep-sea engineering project became something much bigger. They went to the deepest place on Earth expecting silence. Instead, they found one of the richest and strangest ecosystems ever discovered. And in the process, they may have changed how humanity searches for life in the universe. For most of history, humans looked up at the stars, wondering whether we were alone. It turns out one of the strangest alien worlds was waiting beneath our own oceans the entire time. If you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe for more stories about the technologies reshaping our world. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.